Okay, so just to set some context here, this is some of the work that that we have done, just looking at the private equity landscape in and around chemicals. So just to start off, right, 2022 was a little bit of a down year in terms of deals and transactions. It's of course coming off of a pretty big high. There was 2020 probably stymied a lot of activity and transactions, and 21 saw a big surge in that, and then we are coming down about that a little bit. Significant amount of money that's available for funding, a lot of it. So if you look at the chart on the right, that's assets under management with just US in the private equity class in the US. The units are not wrong. It is close to $2.5 trillion. So there's a lot of capital, and then if you look at the blue stack of that, that's what is still available to be invested. So if you have a good idea, Katie and John are the people, and Ed here are the people who you need to chase. They are looking for transactions to do. This is focused specifically in materials and resources. Materials and resources took a pretty big hit last year, but then again, 2021 was some sort of a banner year in materials and resources. If we zoom down further in, specifically in plastics, Nathan talked a little bit about private equity investing in and around plastics in the morning. I think that panel was in the morning. We saw a similar trend essentially in plastics focused M&A as well. This is the entire M&A set of transactions, not just private equity. But we saw a pretty significant decline. A lot of that decline occurred in the second half of last year. The big factors, of course, were rising cost of debt, and that has an impact. It cuts down the number of people that are interested, and therefore it's a smaller buyer pool, and that has a pretty big impact. Some segments were impacted more than the others, but broadly speaking, generally 2022 was a challenging year. Now, of course, if you have fewer buyers, fewer number of deals, valuations kind of come down. That's the general rule, and that's what we saw last year as well. We saw valuations come down, especially financial buyers. I think we saw them coming down quite a bit relative to strategic players. What we are seeing, and Srini talked a little bit about this earlier today, and actually gave us a very nice insight into how some of these Asian majors are thinking. But we are seeing a lot of interesting activity where Asian chemical majors are going and acquiring specialty chemical assets in the US and in Europe. A lot of that is driven by the desire to access expertise, access talent pools. Srini talked about that. But there's also some of this is a desire to build some sort of a hedge against predominantly commodity-focused chemical exposure. And then, of course, these acquisitions also give them access and build capabilities in terms of scouting for additional deals and things like that. Bioplastics, we see a lot of interesting companies in the space. We've been very active trying to understand this particular segment for clients as well as for our research as well. We are also doing some work trying to understand, trying to help some of these producers to sell their plants out essentially, which is interestingly a lot more challenging than what you think.